and maybe some improvements that he could be making during this bye week to come back and be the quarterback that the 49ers need him to be in order to be able to not lead, but optimize this offense to a Super Bowl if they have that opportunity. Do you have any suggestions for Brock Purdy and maybe his do you see a sudden change in his play? Do you think he's playing the same that he's always played and it's just a lack of options or weapons or offensive creativity around him? What do you think's going on with Brock Purdy, and how do you think he can make some improvements to come out in the second half of this season?
I think the first thing that he has to do to improve, um, is obviously everyone's concerned about the turnovers. That's kind of been my biggest worry with Brock Purdy is the turnover regression that I thought was going to happen this season. But outside of that, just be yourself. Be the confident quarterback that we've seen for the past couple of years. Like that's the biggest thing for me right now is you could kind of see him late in the fourth quarter. His confidence has dipped. Um,
Yeah. I know confidence was a big marker of like what made him so good. I feel like coming out his rookie year, it was the fact that this seventh round pick carried himself like he was the third, overall pick, that he had that confidence, and he even had the kind of wherewithal to talk about that
mhm.
in interviews, that he felt like he needed to project that confidence in order to get faith from his fellow teammates and from his coach. So you're right. It is kind of like that seems like fundamental to Brock Purdy. Like later on, we're going to talk about team identity. It feels like that is part of Brock Purdy's identity is his confidence. So seeing that in the most critical moment be shaken is concerning.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you're saying, like the confidence that he had was a very strong part of his game. That was the intangibles, right? Everyone was talking about intangibles. That was something from me that I was like, hey, Brock does have confidence, and you can't knock him for that. But outside of that, when you look at Brock, um, there's at some point you got to understand that everything can't be how do I put it? You can't anticipate every throw and throw that ahead of plays, because what happens is you're gonna start having players jump routes. Some of those throws you're gonna have to make tight window throws. You're gonna have to put some mustard on the ball and sling it. You're gonna have to have a stronger mentality in terms of fitting the ball in tighter windows. Um, because right now what he does, it's very anticipated. Everything's very anticipated. Throwing before the receiver's out of his break, 5 yards ahead into a window. Those windows are going to start. They're going to start getting smaller, and you're going to have to start being pinpoint accurate. I think that's what I'm looking forward to seeing from Brock. I'm very excited to see him because right out of the bye week, it's against a good team. It's to get another good offense. The defense might step up, but guess what? I'm not expecting the defense to hold Trevor Lawrence to 14 points. Like that offense is going to put up points, so does ours. So it's going to be fun.
I think the interceptions in the later games is going to be the number one thing that Brock Purdy needs to kind of. I think he needs to. I think he needs to play more within himself. I feel like with the lack of Trent and Debo, and like I said, I feel like I've noticed like a lack of offensive creativity with their absence. Like I don't think Kyle's been great at scheming up other guys to replace maybe a Debo role or
Mm-hmm.
get Kittle got a little open against the Bengals, but I think Kittle needs like 10 targets per game, specifically when Debo's out. Brandon Ayuk was kind of phased out towards the latter half of the game for some unknown reason. So I think maybe Kyle scheming up some like check down options would be really important, because I think where Brock Purdy is getting in trouble is when he's trying to like make a play that isn't there. Like he feels like in college, right? Didn't he turn the ball over a lot? And why was that? That was because the players around him weren't very good. So a lot of that pressure to like win the game was on him. And I feel like maybe he's like having flashbacks and feels like that. Like you see him kind of his brain moving and feel like he needs to make a play if there's not a play. And I think he needs to kind of learn like, hey, because wasn't that first? It was either the first or second interception against the Bengals was on like first down. Like he could have just
Yeah,
thrown the
just
ball
throw it.
away and they would have had another chance. Like so, I think playing more within himself and not like putting so much pressure on himself to be the reason that they win or the reason there's an explosive play. Like, just keep the ball out of harm's way. That's your job, Brock. Like, your playmakers are the ones that are going to need to win the game. Kyle Shanahan's going to be the one that needs to call a game that's going to win. All you need to do is not get everyone in trouble by giving away opportunities. So I
Absolutely.
think that, and I do understand that that's probably hard to tell him right now, because I think, although I put way more credence on the latter half of the game because that's like the most important, I don't think they'd be in that game if it wasn't for his playmaking. I think it is important to say, like, the athleticism that he showed the last 2 games has been really impressive. And when there's been times where this offense is kind of failing them, receivers aren't getting open, Kyle doesn't have maybe the right scheme for whatever defense they're facing, Brock has been able to kind of shimmy out with his legs and stuff, which it's been really nice to see. I feel like for fans that are kind of accustomed to seeing Jimmy Garoppolo, it's nice to see someone who's able to do that. So I don't want to be totally ragging on him, but I just think, obviously, if you're grading something, in my opinion, it's like, when you're taking a math test and you have like the little ones, like the like it's like, I was an elementary school teacher, so like 2 + 2, and you have all the like little answers, but then at the end you have the word problems, and those are worth like 5 points.
Oh yeah.
That instead of like 2, that's like a football game. Like, you have like, okay, you're doing good in the first and second and third quarter, but how do you do in the fourth quarter? That's going to be the most important, unless of course you're like already up and you're just running the ball. But you know what I mean? The pivotal moments are always going to be graded more tough and worth more points,
Ab-
metaphorically speaking.
Absolutely. And they should though too though, because so the biggest issue with the 49ers has been them not being able to have a quarterback who could lead them in the clutch situations, right? Like that's always been like a struggle for the 49ers when they had Jimmy Garoppolo. Obviously, we got to the Super Bowl with them. They struggled to win it, and stuff like that. So like for me, just the fourth quarter, even if you go to his fourth quarter like stats, because I know everyone wants to throw out QBR and passer rating and stuff like that. I'm not a big fan of those. I'm not, and the reason why I'm not is because if one, how many
Because
people out there
Jimmy
know
was
what?
like top in it, and he's now a quarterback.
No, not even that. So like so
Oh, you muted yourself. Muted.
sorry about
You
that.
were you were getting ready to make a great point, and you were like, "This is too good. People can't even know."
So actually, me and Jesse were talking about passer rating the day before he sent out a tweet, and he had talked about how passer rating is a stupid stat, which it is because I was looking at it. We put up the passer rating generator. A quarterback could go like 10 for 20, have 3 touchdowns. Actually, no, it was 10 for 20, like 8 touchdowns, but have like 150 yards, and like his pass rating was barely like 105. But it's like he had 10, he had how many touchdowns? Like, how was that barely 105? Like that's
Yeah.
damn good. So we were looking at that. I was like, that's kind of weird, right? Like that's, and then we looked at other stats like the average stat. The average quarterback passer rating is around 90, 95. So it's like looking at these stats, there's really no way to look at the stats and be like, okay, it's a good stat. But since everyone wants to use it, I'm going to bring it up because if that's what we're going to go off of, because I know everyone talks about Brock being the top quarterback in terms of passer rating. Well, look at his play in the fourth quarter. What's his passer rating in the fourth quarter? It drops to like 40, I believe, which is insane because I believe the last time I checked, it was like 40. I could be wrong. But when I looked at it, if you spike a ball every play, your passer rating is going to be like a 33, which is insane.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Because like
Yeah.
that tells you how
You're like,
stupid of a
Jimmy
stat
did
it
it
is.
better if you just didn't do anything at this point.
And that's how bad of a stat it is because like I don't know. So like for me, for Brock, I am hard on Brock because I think Brock he's shown he's capable. But Brock's also been a quarterback from what I've seen over the last what was he have 12 starts? A lot of his college self, the spin out to the left, that's been a college thing.
Yeah.
The 360 trying to throw a pass, that's from college. Like a lot of the stuff he's doing is
Is my
definitely
thing that I always talk about from college, I'm in the middle of getting sacked and I'm going to turn and throw the ball. That one is
that's
the one that
insane.
always bugs me the most. I'm like, what are you doing?
And
Please stop doing that.
and the crazy part is
Oh,
we've seen Brock at his highest and we've seen him at his lowest.
yeah.
That's what's insane. His lowest has been pretty damn bad. His high has been pretty damn good. It probably averages out. He's probably going to end up averaging out, and he'll probably be an average quarterback, which is okay because we've been able to win with Jimmy, who's average. I think we can win with Brock, who's average. Now,
and he's cheap. The thing
exactly.
is, if he can protect the ball, because if he is average, like this team, if they're the people that they are playing, to be fair, are performing at the level that they should be, because right now he's cheap, and this is why. I mean, this is such a side note, so we don't have to go on this, but this is the problem with building your like a super team around a cheap quarterback. Is the quarterback is the most important position, and if your other guys aren't playing to the level that you're paying them, for example, literally Debo's not playing, Trent Williams was out, Nick Bosa has 2 sacks in Wade, like so Hardgrave hasn't, in my opinion, lived up to his contract so far. So I feel like when those players aren't performing well, what you would normally turn to as like a football team, the way that they're normally constructed, is the quarterback to carry them. But then on this team, it's like, well, that's not even fair to be like, oh, why isn't the quarterback, carrying them? Because it's like, well, that's not what you said in the beginning of the year, that the point of him was that he wasn't going to have to carry him. That's why I feel like if I was like giving Brock Purdy like a letter grade for his performance up to this year, or I was originally going to say C, and then I forget who I was talking to. I think it was Jose. And I kind of walked myself back, and I want to give him a B minus, because even though he's done really terribly with turning the ball over the last 2 games in the most important spots, it's like he was put in a position where he had to be the guy to make a play, and he should never be put in that position. And I think these are conversations that more like we're gonna have if it ever comes time to like pay Brock Purdy. But right now, like the point of Brock Purdy is supposed to be that he's just good enough, and that the players around him are the reason that the 49ers are winning. And right now they're not. And I think that deserves as much criticism as Brock does currently.
Absolutely. And I would say my phone keeps trying to connect to our my mic. I don't know why, but like keeps trying to connect to my. I have a
Just wants to
MacBook.
be involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Funny to get out of here. But I would put it on Brock because when you look at Brock, right, the
Yeah.
49ers chose Brock to be the franchise guy. Like they went all in.
They fucked up by
So
doing, because
for
they were
me,
like, this is the real deal, and it's like, don't say that yet.
you said the real deal. You had the front office in terms of John Lynch, Kyle. They were saying he is this dude. Kyle said I fell in love with him after his third start. The moment you said this, and the
Yeah.
moment you tied yourself to this
Me too,
quarterback,
Kyle. I love falling in love after the third date. Just go all in. Just love
I,
bombing his quarterbacks and then getting mad at them.
and that's the thing is like they went all in on him. So when your team isn't playing well, when your defense isn't playing well, you have to be that guy. Even if I don't. So at this point, so like I said early in the season, I don't care where he was drafted anymore. That was last year. That was a good story for last year. Like that was last year's thing. He's a second year quarterback now. Yeah, I understand he only played 5 games, but when you're in your second year, you proved that you already surpassed your 7th round Mr. Irrelevant pick. And to me, that's irrelevant now because you already proved your point that you are an NFL quarterback. You proved to a team that you are a franchise quarterback. A franchise quarterback wins you those kind of games. So in those games that we played in, it's not like we're asking him to score 48 points. Like we're not
Yeah,
asking him
you're
to
like,
like just score me 24 to 27 points and you win those games. Like to me, that's the biggest thing is with Brock. It's not like they're asking him to like I understand scoring 30 points a week is absolutely hard. That's given. Now we also got to play and factor that we have Christian McCaffrey fumbling in the red zone. Key turnovers in the red zone kill you.
he like low key got away with that. Like I feel like people did not talk, like they talked about it like in the game on Twitter, and then after, because all the criticism was like on Steve Wilkes. I feel like Christian McCaffrey has really gotten away with his fumbling criticism, and didn't he fumbled the game before too, right?
Back-to-back
Not in the
weeks.
same spot. Yeah.
The first one was actually at like the 1 or 2. The second was like the last week was at like the 15. But even then, like you kind of got like and that's where I'm like, okay, well, when I see, I
If that
do.
was not Christian McCaffrey, that man would never. That man would have been cut at halftime.
Oh,
I
absolutely,
would
he
have
would. For me
freaked
though,
out.
the biggest thing though with Christian McCaffrey is he gets leeway because he's hurt, playing through it, and he's been playing very good. So it's like he gets that leeway versus Brock is he. I mean, he's not hurt no more. I
Yeah.
mean, he might be. He might be. I mean, he said on was it Sunday Night Football
Yeah. His elbow.
or Monday Night Football? He did say his elbow was hurting. So I don't know. I'm very curious, but
And
his
then Kyle
improve.
said he hadn't heard anything about that, which I was like, that is. Please show a unified front. A
Yeah,
football team needs to be like a family. Like things need to be kept in house. And I feel like the 49ers love to get a little messy sometimes.
yeah. And Kyle also said we weren't going to make a trade, but well, I mean, see, like I could say I'm the richest man alive. I'm the richest.
Oh, your phone did the thing again. And still, Marco is gone, but he's so good.
All right, I'm
Yep,
here.
there you go.
I'm here.
You
So
could say you're the richest man alive.
yeah,
I just had to.
like it doesn't mean it's true.